Good Monday afternoon to you. Welcome to the Jon Sanchez Show, One News Talk 780 KOH. Pleasure to be with you on this wild ride of a Monday. I should say wild ride over the last, 72 hours? I'm glad to be with you and explain what the heck's going on. Hope you had a great weekend. Tense weekend, no doubt about it. I don't care what side of the aisle you may be on, whether you're an investor or not. As an American, when you see missiles flying and you know that we're involved, it basically it makes your stomach churn a little bit. I mean, let's be honest about it. When that news broke on Saturday that the missiles were flying and we were now, quote, at war, makes everybody nervous. And again, it doesn't matter whether you have money in the market or not. It's just part of being American. So let's kind of fast forward as to where we sit. We go through the weekend, missiles launched on Saturday. Obviously, there's no after hours trading on Saturday. Futures start trading yesterday, Sunday, at 3 o'clock. And of course, they're down. No surprise. But I tell you, I got a bit of a relief yesterday as I was watching them very, very closely and essentially beginning to plot out the strategy for our portfolios come today. And I got a bit of a relief. And that bit of relief was this. We were holding right around that negative 500 mark, between 500 to 580, right around there. And I went back and I did a study. And I wanted to see, I couldn't remember how the market performed in the 12-day Iran war. Now, remember, that was last year. It seems like it was longer than that. June 13th is when we initiated the bombing of the nuclear sites in Iran. And I wanted to see, how did the market perform the day of trading, right? June 13th. Well, lo and behold, it finished down about 500 and some change. And so I said, there's a little similarity there. The way the algorithms are set up, et cetera, that seems to be the soft area. Not down 6, not down 7, not down 1,000, which is human nature to think that that would happen. So that gave me, again, a bit of reprieve. Slept pretty good last night. Got up at 3 o'clock this morning, started tracking things, watching things closely. And sure enough, where were we? Down that 500 range. I'm going back to my notes on my first stock update this morning at 523, down 503. Next report at 553, down 530. Last report right before the market opened, down 585 on the Dow futures. So once again, look like, okay, we're doing what we should be doing. Not panicking. Everyone's kind of taking a deep breath to wait and see what happens. Algorithms aren't going crazy. Oil prices, they were up. I think the best level that I saw between yesterday and today, oil was up almost $6. And Lord knows we did not close there, thank goodness. So it looked like calmer heads were going to prevail. Now, the other thing that I noticed is obviously the missile attack occurred. Number one, that was unusual at roughly 10 o'clock in the morning, Iranian time. Usually that doesn't happen. Usually it's at night. And I'll let the war experts explain why they had some rationale that was asked of them in some of the press conferences and things today. The other thing, of course, it happens on a weekend. And they do that on purpose, unless there's some real reason, urgent reason, which, killing the Ayatollah, they said the timing was, they had to do it. It was absolutely perfect because where he was and his generals and things like that. So they do it on a Saturday. So that obviously you're not doing it in the middle of a market day, and you have that reaction. We probably could easily fall 1,000 points. If we were sitting here and all of a sudden, we get that news that the missiles are flying and we're now at war, obviously it's going to be a major reaction. It's one of those situations where the market goes, all right, we're going to sell everything and then we'll ask questions later. So that was, again, a bit of another positive there. So once again, it looked like calmer heads would prevail. Market opens up. We dip a little bit. Worst level today, we were down just about 687 points from the highs to the lows of the day. Again, we're not even talking 2%. So calmer heads prevailed. Now, did we have a lot of intermittent periods where the market wasn't quite sure what it wanted to do, what investors wanted to do, how the algorithms were basically programmed of what to do? Absolutely, we did. There were some massive buy and sell orders on all the major averages today. Next thing that I did, watch the bond market. Now, the bond market, folks, was one of the most puzzling situations for investors to figure out today. And I want to tell you why I say that, because if you look at it on the surface, you're going to scratch your head and go, wait a minute here. This makes absolutely no sense. Okay, so let's set the table. You all know that, of course, the way the bond market works, the basic fundamentals of the bond market is very simple. It's a teeter totter, right? If you're watching me on YouTube right now, I got my pen, I got a teeter totter. One side of a teeter totter goes up, the other side of the teeter totter goes down. So one side is the bond price, let's say $1,000, and let's say that's the left side of the pin. The right side of the pin is the bond yield, and let's say that's, I don't know, right around whatever, 4%. Okay. Hour by hour, day by day, minute by minute, second by second, bonds are going up and down. Well, again, a teeter totter. One side goes up, one side goes down. So when you get into a war situation, of course, you get what's called flight to quality. That means investors liquidate their stock holdings, liquidate anything that they think is risky, cryptocurrency, anything that they think is at risk. And what do? I'm talking on the institutional side. They redeploy the capital into the bonds. So once again, my bond price is on the left side of the pen. So they come and they start buying the bonds. Bond price goes up. What should happen to the yield? It should go down. That didn't happen today. Not one bit. Matter of fact, we finished up 9 basis points on the 10-year Treasury today to a yield of 405. The 2-year was up 11 basis points. The 5-year was up 11 basis points. Even the 30-year was up 7 basis points. So what happened? And this is where things got a little tricky today, because we should have seen just the opposite. We should have seen bond yields tumble today. Again, come in, buy the bonds, drive the yields down. Instead, what happened? They liquidated the bonds and drove the yields up. So what was this telling us? 2 factors happened to this. Number one, they, meaning traders around the world, not just here in the U.S., but around the world, were buying the U.S. dollar, right? You can give me all the BS that you want about cryptocurrencies, a hedge against this, and it's a safe play, and on, and all the stupid reasons for cryptocurrency, in my opinion. But when it comes down to times like this, where missiles are flying, you can't beat the safety of the United States dollar. And so, once again, what we saw happen, traders around the world piled into the U.S. dollar. Well, where'd they get that capital to do that? Where they got the capital was out of the bond market. So they sold their bonds, driving the yields up, took that capital, the proceeds from the bond sales, put it into the dollar, and now we have higher yields. Just the opposite, again, what we thought would happen. The other factor, in my opinion, that the reason that they dumped the bonds today was because inflation. So as I continue my topic here, Iran war, what this means for your money, let's go into the inflationary side. But before we talk about inflation, we've got to talk about oil prices, right? Obviously, this is a major, major oil situation. So on the oil side, a quick reminder to all of you. When inflation is calculated, predominantly CPI, the Consumer Price Index, the measure of inflation on the retail side, remember, a very large component of the calculation of CPI are oil prices. Now, obviously, we see oil moving up, finished up $471.23. Nothing major, like I said, not nearly that $6 that we saw over the weekend. So oil prices go up. If you are a bond trader, that's a panic sign to you. Why? Well, first of all, as we're going to discuss throughout the show, as we lay out what you need to be doing as far as your strategies right now. If you're a bond trader or an equity trader, actually, let me back up. If you're a bond trader specifically, let's forget about equity for a second. If you're a bond trader and you own hundreds of millions of dollars of bonds, if you are fearful that inflation is going to become a major issue, the last thing you want to do is own bonds. So let's go back to oil. Oil prices rise. We don't know how long this war is going to last. We don't know what kind of disruption we're going to see in oil prices. We'll talk about Strait of Hormuz and some scenarios there in a little bit. So therefore, if I don't know where oil is going to stop on the upside, it could go so long that when they go to do the February CPI calculation, the March CPI calculation, oil prices are high. That means the input into that formula for CPI is high, which means CPI is high. Higher inflation, bad for bonds, right? You all know that. You never want to own bonds in a high inflationary environment. Inflation eats away that yield that the bond is paying you. So that was the other issue going on is these traders are like, wait a minute here. We don't know what's going to happen with oil. We're hearing all these different stories. Let's get out of the bonds because if oil prices remain higher, inflation's going to go higher. My bond price is going to tumble. Get me out. So that was one of the other really bizarre things that we saw today was yields going up, stock market nice and calm, no craziness going on, no major flight to quality. I think we got out of this day, thank our lucky stars, because it was a day that could have gone obviously a lot of different directions. But the other thing that I'll be talking about is the market, the little engine that could, right? I mentioned this to Ross Mitchell this morning in one of my stock updates. I said, in my 36 years of doing this, what I have witnessed a lot, I mean, going back to all the major Gulf wars, et cetera, is there tends to be a sense of patriotism. And I may be completely wrong. This is maybe my gut feeling, but I see it over and over again whenever we get into these conflicts. There seems to be a sense of patriotism among investors from the standpoint that, you know what, we are the United States of America. We are the world leader. We're not going to be bullied. We're definitely not going to let our economy, our stock market, our economic engine go down the tubes because of some crazy people on the other side of the world. So a little bit of patriotism. People step in. They start buying stocks. I told you the story after when the markets opened up after 9/11. I went on the radio show. I was in Bakersfield at the time. I went on the radio show, and that's when we would earn a commission when we bought or sold a stock for a client. And I went on the radio and I said, I forget the number. I think the first 100 people that want to buy a stock, I don't care if you want to buy 1 share or 1,000 shares, I'm waiving my commission cost. My phone's lit up. That's that patriotism. Now, of course, that was a little bit different with it being 9/11. A little bit different feeling as far as patriotism is concerned there, but you get my point. So there's so many emotional issues that go in when, again, missiles begin to fly. Got so many more things I want to share with you. So excited to be with you today. Come back. We'll continue our discussion, the Iraq War, what it means for your money. Let's turn it over to Kristen Snow. She's in the Right Now Traffic Center. Hello, Kristen. Come back to the Jon Sanchez Show on News Talk 780 KOH. Appreciate you joining me on this wild ride day, to say the very least. Once again, our topic, Iran War, what it means for your money. All right. So many things I got to go over with you. Can't wait. Let's get started. All right. So how'd we finish up? Like I said, we had a 687-point swing from the lows to the highs of the Dow today. But it was all said and done. Closing bell at 1 o'clock. You think, just kind of an average day. Nothing going on. Nice and quiet. Finished down only 73 points on the Dow. How about that? 48,904 was our closing level. She went positive a long time before the Dow did today. Rebounded nicely. Finished actually with a solid gain of 81 points, 0.36%. Closing at 22,748. S&P 500 higher by 3 points. Closed at 6,881. Russell 2000, almost a 1 point gain, up 0.90%, up 24 points to 2,655. Wow. Talk about the little engine that could, like I said before we went to the break. Let's go over to the commodity side. As I said, oil prices, $4.17 rise, $71.23 a barrel. Gold, just a $62.80 gain. I mean, we've seen a lot bigger gains on that than, in one day when there's nothing going on. So no major, again, panics move to the safe haven of gold. 5,311 was our closing level per ounce. And as I indicated, 9 basis point increase on the 10-year at a yield of 4.05%. Like I said, I gave you the explanation behind that. That one was a head scratcher. That one, I think that one caught a lot of people flat-footed today. I really do. It's a textbook case when there's global tensions like this. People flock into the bond market, drives the yields down. Today was just the opposite. They dumped the bonds, fearful of inflation because of oil prices rising. So I'll tell you what, I'll be honest with you. This one's going to go in the Jon Sanchez stock market playbook because I've never experienced this before. Never seen this happen before where bonds went down in a day of global tensions like this. So it was a good learning lesson, like I said, for everybody, no matter how many years of experience you have. You always learn something in this business. That's why I love it so much. I was going to start the show in the first segment by telling you something really blunt. And I got sidetracked. I just got so excited to start talking to you. But I'm going to do it right now. So listen closely. I don't want you to listen to me or my advice today or over the next few days if this thing continues. I also don't want you to listen to anyone. And I'll tell you why. Because we all think we're smart. We all have our opinions. We all can talk about our years of experience. And I remember when this and when that, but I would be lying to you. And I will never, ever, ever do that to you. You will always get the straight facts from me. If I sat here behind this microphone and behind this camera and I said, I know exactly what's going to happen. If this happens, this is going to happen, and this is going to be the result, and you need to go here and you need to do that. Can't do it. All I can give you is my best guesstimate. My first institutional level webinar was at 5 o'clock this morning with BlackRock. I had another institutional level webinar at 8 o'clock with JP Morgan. Pretty smart people, hell of a lot smarter than me. And they all said the exact same thing. This is our best guess. These are our probabilities. But the bottom line is we don't know. And so, like I said, they're a lot smarter than this guy. And I'm not going to sit here and say, this is exactly what's going to happen. All I can give you is what I've seen, what I've had happen in my career under similar circumstances. But every one of these conflicts is different. That's the other thing is there's always different scenarios that go on, right? We've never toppled a regime like happened with the killing of the Ayatollah. Obviously, we go back to, like I said, June 12th when we dropped a whole bunch of bombs. America looked like a hero. No injuries. Well, we've already had, 9 unfortunate U.S. Servicemen deaths. And we want an entire country to adapt a new regime. That's the unknown in this situation. No one knows what's going to happen. Is it going to be, the Ayatollah's, can he keep track of it? I don't think it's his son, but maybe it is his son. I don't know. Is some relative of his. They're saying he may step up. Well, do you think he's going to be any different if he and his group get to take over? Probably not. I am certain on this fact. I can promise you, in my opinion, that you are seeing the CIA and every covert operation that the United States has, and along with other countries around the world, probably doing anything and everything they can behind the scenes, monetarily, promises, etc., for them to get in some new regime that they want to get in. Not what the Iranian people want, but that the rest of the world wants, to get some calm in that place. I promise you, there's some serious money probably being touted and, like I said, promises and you name it. So listen to what I say, but just know I don't know much more than you do. All I can tell you is, again, my experience in the market, but every one of these are different. No one knows. Even the president said this thing could last, where he said today in a press conference, we're ahead of schedule. This thing could last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. We don't know. One part that's scary that we've heard over the weekend, and we heard it a lot today, and again, the different press conferences, U.S. is running a little bit low on ammo, meaning the rockets. We gave a lot of rockets, sold a lot of rockets and various types of munition, bombs, etc., to Ukraine and other conflicts that we've been involved in over the last few years. These missiles, these bombs are not cheap. We have $2 to $3 million missiles being taken out by $500 homemade drones. And so you've all heard that, I'm sure, over the weekend also. That's one concern. I've never, in my experience, ever heard the U.S. government say, basically, we got to watch what we're dropping and what we're firing because we don't have a lot of them. They already said they're bringing in stockpiles from other parts of the world because stockpile there in the Middle East is starting to run low. I've never heard that before. So the reason I'm bringing that up is, could that mean that they will try to get this done sooner rather than later? I think so. I mean, think about it. If you were in the president in a general's position and you're like, okay, I'll pick a hypothetical number. I've got 100 missiles left. I'm going to do a couple things. Number one, I'm going to make sure I'm going to use them in the most effective place. Number two, I'm going to use them sparingly. And number three, I got to leave a few more because Lord knows there's something else could break out around the world. I know I'm going to extreme. We don't know, what our stockpiles are. I'm sure we're fine, but I'm just going off of what they're saying. That started over the weekend. Like, we're running low. So once again, that tells me I think the president probably wants to get this war over with sooner rather than later. Now, things were relatively calm today. One other big event that I want to just briefly mention to keep an eye on. And it caught a little bit of attention in the markets and things, but I wanted to throw this out there. And that is evidently in Qatar, which, if you remember, my brother and my family, my nephew is a professional soccer player, and a bunch of my brother, Dr. Dennis Sanchez, his side, they were there sometime this summer, July or something like that. One of their massive LNG refineries got hit And evidently there is zero natural gas flowing out of that area. So the reason I'm bringing that up, I'm trying to find our price of that, but it was soaring early today. Again, a drone hit that facility in Qatar. Those are, the reason I'm bringing that up also is that's what I'm talking about. Those are the kind of things that we have to be careful about. You just never know what can get hit. I mean, obviously all these countries have targets that they've laid out that they want to hit. Can they be successful and do it? That's anybody's guess. Yeah, natural gas. Well, this is second day. This is trading really Tuesday's value just up fractionally, but yeah, it was up like 4 to 5% earlier. So we got to watch that side of it also. All right. Now, when we come back, let's turn it over to you. You got the details. You know what's going on. I brought you up to date. You've been hard at work today. You're now up to date. Let's lay out a game plan for you when we come back. Let's turn it over to Jack Saban. He's got news, traffic, and weather. Hello, Jack. Welcome back to the Jon Sanchez Show on News Talk 780 KOH. Thanks so much for joining me today. I do appreciate it. Lots of things to talk about. Let's get right back to it. Our topic, the Iraq War. What does this mean for your money? So the first half of the show, I laid out, again, the market reaction today. Bottom line, cool, calm, and collective. The little engine that could. I gave you all kinds of analogies. And once again, we finished down just 73 on the Dow after being down almost 700 from the lows to the highs today. NASDAQ, nice gain of 81 points, 0.36%. S&P higher by 3. Russell 2000, the little guys, they were the best, 0.90% gain, up 24 points. Now, I do want to bring you up to date. Obviously, watching the futures very closely. Nothing major going on right now. Dow futures down about 69. NASDAQ's down 59. S&P's lower by 13. I've been watching them kind of hover between here and down 100. So nothing too significant by any stretch of the imagination. All right. So before I get to you, I want to throw a couple things out. I want to give you a great quote that I heard today that I think will resonate with all of you. And then the second thing I want to do is I want to break a big lie that you are hearing in the news. Okay, so let's do the fun stuff. Let's do the quote. So I told you I was on a institutional level webinar this morning. Did, again, two of them. One at 5 o'clock this morning with our friends over at BlackRock, and then another one at 8 o'clock this morning with our friends over at JP Morgan. Two highly respected firms. We do a lot of business with both of them. But I want to go to the JP Morgan one. Again, both of them were excellent. They essentially all have the same thing, which is what I said a minute ago. No one knows. Don't listen to anybody. We just got to let this thing play out and just take it day by day, hour by hour. But I want to go to this quote. You know that I'm very jaded in my opinion of which Wall Street strategists and analysts and things that I listen to, because I've seen them come and go, and very few of them are worth the paper they write their opinions on, in my opinion. But there's one that I have followed for a million years. I know he's been doing this a long time, and I've had the pleasure to meet him many times at different conferences and things. His name is Dr. David Kelly, and he is JP Morgan's chief market strategist. And just a very humble man, very no BS. He's got a great, English accent, so he sounds smart already before any words even come out of his mouth, basically. But he and another fellow from JP Morgan were leading this webinar that I was watching this morning. And Dr. Kelly said something that I've never heard before. But I'm going to, again, put it back in another thing I'm going to add to my Jon Sanchez trading rule book today. And I want to share this with you. He said, you can hedge a risk or you can diversify a risk. You can hedge a risk or you can diversify a risk. Now, why is this sitting with me? Because this is back to the point that I'm going to get to now, which is I cautioned everybody on my first update in the morning, this morning at 5:23, and I said, please do not make the mistake that we have seen investors do over and over again when these conflicts erupt. Our phone goes off the hook, where people are going, I want you to put me into, Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and Boeing, all the defense-oriented stocks. 99% of the time we go, it's their money, they can do what they want. But unless they really push us, we say, no, don't do it. Because as fast as those go up, they come down. Because again, anything can happen. We could, by the time the show's over, this Iran thing could be done. You just don't know. You just don't know. So what Dr. Kelly said, you can hedge a risk, right? So you can hedge. So what is our risk in this Iran conflict? What is our risk? Our risk is some crazy new regime takes over and they hate us as much as the previous regime. Oil prices going through the roof, stock market plummeting, our inflation skyrocketing. It goes on and on. But can you notice, just off the top of my head, I just said those. I'm not looking at any notes. You can see me on YouTube. I'm not watching any notes. I could make a list, probably 20 different items, right? There's always risks in investing, always risks. World can feel perfect. Things can be great in the U.S. there is always a risk. So once again, you can hedge a specific risk. So I don't have the time to get into it, but pick a risk, and I promise you there is a hedge that you can do. A hedge, again, is defined as something that will limit your downside, right? If that asset that you are trying to hedge is going down, your hedge should go up in value, right? That's the theoretical fundamentals of a hedge fund, right? They're designed where their investments go up when other investments go down. Kind of back to the teeter-totter scenario. So back to Dr. Kelly, you can hedge a risk. So any of these little things I said, oil, risk of inflation, et cetera, or you can diversify a risk. And that's my primary advice to you this evening. If you're not a client of ours, we're already doing this, thank God. But if your advisor is not doing it, please give us a call, 775-800-1801. Or if you're managing money yourself, or if you're looking at your K or something like that, this is when you do need to take a look. And we have pounded the table on the importance of diversification. Diversification hasn't worked in the last few years. It worked last year, last few years. Boy, unless you were in the Mag 7, you really lagged the market. That's okay. But boy, if you've got a diversified portfolio right now, you are thankful. You're sleeping well, and you probably are withholding this volatility very nicely. Hedge a risk or diversify a risk. Most people do not have the expertise or the capital because hedging costs a lot of money. It requires a tremendous amount of expertise because in most cases, just deteriorate, right? They expire, right? So if I had a $100 million stock portfolio, an institutional trader, what's my hedge? I buy puts on that portfolio, right? Derivatives, but those cost me money. If I'm right, market goes down, my puts go up, my equity market goes down, they somewhat neutralize, or maybe I make a little bit of money on the puts. But if I'm wrong and the market goes up, guess what? My puts, they go down in value. So there's really no hedge that you can do for free, theoretically. So just remember that is one of the best ways to survive this market right now. So let's start off with what not to do. I mentioned it just a moment ago. Now we had some big moves today in the defense names. I mean, it started, right in the pre-market session. And again, this is like clockwork. It happens every single time there's any type of overseas conflict. So I'll give you just some examples. You had Aero and Defense company Axon up $29.62, 5.46% gain to 572.02. Northrop Grumman rose $43.64, 6.02%, finished at 768.02. RTX, formerly Raytheon, up 4.71%, $9.54 gain to 212.16. Those were some of the top performers. iShare Aerospace ETF up 2.8% for the day. If you're going to play, I'll give you another little tidbit of advice here. If you're going to play the defense area, like you think in your heart that this thing's going to last and you understand the risk, do it via an ETF. I don't care which one you do. There's a lot of them out there that follow the aerospace and defense area. Do it via an ETF. That way, at least you're diversifying your risk across there. Weakness, airlines, right? Travels came to a halt over there. So you had United Air down $3 and Delta down $1.45. Palantir was a star today, up almost 6%, $7.94 gain to 145.13. Again, remember, Palantir got chewed out by the president and their contract canceled, as I mentioned on the show on Friday. So, go figure how that one works. I wonder if they're still real happy with that one. Other side today that was good, some of the big tech names. You had Microsoft up $5.81. You had NVIDIA up $5.29. The Mag 7 really stood out. Wall Street Journal said the NVIDIA plans to unveil a new chip designed to speed up the AI processing. My goodness, that really helped things out a lot. Cruise lines, Ross asked me about this one this morning. I thought it was interesting and looked it up, and yeah, it was weak and it continued that way. No surprise there. Anything travel related, you had some of the gaming stocks this morning. I didn't see where they finished, but they were down. But you had Norwegian Cruise Line down $2.60, about a 10.49% loss to 22.19. So what do we not do? And then when we come back, I'll tell you what you should be doing. What we should not be doing, loading up in defense stocks. Again, if you're going to do it, it's a trade. It is not an investment. It is a trade. Don't load up in safe haven plays, right? Again, if you have a diversified portfolio, they should already be in there. If you don't have them, add a little bit, but don't get crazy. Don't load up. Don't think the world's coming to an end. The other thing not to do at this point, don't panic, right? These things, even the Gulf War, as extreme as that was, we haven't had anything near that example where we had boots on the ground, obviously. These things don't tend to last a long period of time. They really don't. It's just the way it is anymore. So take a deep breath. If the volatility is getting you, that says you've got too much risk, pick up some more names, diversify things out a little bit. There's some phenomenal buying opportunities out there after some of the names that got beat up again today. Phenomenal time to start looking at dollar cost average into there. But I've got a few other things I want you to do, and I'll tell you about that as I wrap things up. But first, Miss Kristen Snow in the Right Now Traffic Center. She's going to wrap us up there. Hello, my dear. Back to the Jon Sanchez Show on News Talk 780 KOH. Pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much. I hope you feel a little bit better than you did when the show started. I know there's a lot of confusion out there. You're hard at work. My job is to sit here and make sense of it for you and just tell you, what we're seeing, what really is going on. Just kind of leave you with the futures. Right now, down about 82 on the Dow side. NASDAQs are down 75. S&P's lower by 15. So once again, nothing too major by any means. Okay, before I get to what I think you need to be doing right now, I need to break a major myth that you're going to probably read about, hear about, etc. Oh, we were recovering really nice today, and then all of a sudden the market tanked. And I'm searching all my news sources. I'm like, what just happened? I'm seeing no headline. Well, it was about 5 minutes later that finally it appeared on the headline, what caused the market sell-off 5 minutes before. And what it was one of the generals in Iran said the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Now, I want to set the facts straight, folks. The Strait of Hormuz does not close. It cannot close. It will not close. Could it be dangerous? Absolutely. But this is my point about algorithms. They listened to that. Algorithms didn't know that that's not true. Human beings, if you're an oil trader, you know that's not true. They don't close the Strait of Hormuz. It's people always think it's like a right, where you've got locks and gates and things. It's not. It's a natural waterway. It's not like the Suez Canal either. Natural waterway. At its widest point, it's about 21 miles long. I'm sorry, at its narrowest point, it's about 21 miles wide. Pardon me, about 21 miles wide. It's like a sharp turn that you got to do. So it's about 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Shipping lanes, which is traditional in international shipping, about 2 miles wide each direction. It's like a highway, right? Right side, starboard side, it's going one direction. Port side, left side's going the other direction. No gate, no lock, no structure. Nothing can physically be shut. International maritime law governs the Strait of Hormuz, not Iran, not anybody else. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea guarantees transit passage through the international choke points. This is what I dug up. Iran cannot legally close it. Now, what can Iran do? And the reason this is so important, of course, we're talking oil inflation, stock market, all that. So even though, of course, Iran cannot close the Strait of Hormuz like this general said they can disrupt it, right? We saw that months ago. They can mine the ship lanes. They've got missiles and drones. But here's the situation. Hopefully they learned from last year when they decided to harass all the vessels going through the Strait of Hormuz, and our naval studs were there. And what do? The minute the satellites and the radar pick up where some of these attacks come from, they just destroy them. And that's why eventually things calmed down and the shipping began once again last year. The same thing's going to happen. So can they seize vessels, harass them? Yeah, but there's, like I said, even those people, as crazy as they are, I don't think they're going to be that stupid to do it at this point. Maybe fire a few drones or something, but my Lord. Now, why is this place so important to keep in mind? 20% of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Pretty significant. Your major exporters are Saudi Arabia, United Emirates, Arab Emirates, you got Kuwait, Iraq, Qatar, so on and so forth. If the traffic slows even a little, which as of this morning, I didn't see before the show, I didn't get a chance to look at there's some great naval websites that we use that you can actually see through GPS what type of ship it is and if it's moving or not. And this morning when I looked, this was like 5:30, about 70% of the oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz were anchored. They weren't going anywhere. So we will keep a close eye on that. All right. So now to wrap up, what do you need to be doing right now? Most important thing, you stay calm. You diversify, as I said. You look for buying opportunities. I mean, come on, Home Depot today down almost $10 just because you had one day with oil interest rates going up. You look at things like that, things that have this situation where they moved abnormally just because what's happening in the Iran situation. Look for opportunities. That's one thing I can tell you. Look for opportunities. You will be fine. We'll get through this. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on the Jon Sanchez Show. Take care.
Jon Sanchez is a registered investment advisor, and the opinions expressed by Sanchez Gaunt Capital Management, LLC on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of News Talk 780 or its parent company, Cumulus Media. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.